Why, hello there. Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. I was actually editing a review I did for this episode, and my computer went on the fritz. And it kind of ruined everything. I had to basically delete the whole thing, whatever footage I had. I figured it was a little too late to actually do an actual review. So here we are, live stream. Time to talk about the episode. I hope to go through this very quickly. Rick and Morty come across another derelict ship. Like their season 2 episode, Autoerotic Assimilation. The only difference, this time we're not dealing with a hive mind. We're just dealing with people in cryo-sleep. I've seen this trope numerous times in scientific movies where people just go into a tube and go to sleep. Could be up to hundreds of years, could be about 10 minutes. Nobody really knows. I'm sure you remember that Chris Pratt movie a couple of years back. And yeah, I see it. And you really wonder about what's going on here. Well, let's get through it. Originally, the idea was simply that we were going to go there and start playing pranks on them by knocking on the tubes. Then, of course, Rick came across the vault, and he knows there was some space coal in it. And obviously, Rick loves energy sources. So, obviously, he tries to blow his way into it. And for some reason, he used these short-time bombs that are literally less than 10 seconds to detonate. Instead of, using a remote bomb, which most people would probably use for a remote trigger. I don't know about this either. He just decided one day, let's just do it. And of course, Morty simply had a problem with this, knocked it out of his hand, and this triggered everybody on the ship to start waking up from their cryotubes. Rick goes into the upper class nursery cryotube area, and Morty went into the working class ship workers cryotube. And well, if you haven't figured it out by now, yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of class system again. I haven't done this before, right? Not in this series. Never. Now, an ounce of irony or sarcasm here, right? Yeah, we've done this quite a few times already. And of course, when Rick wakes up, not noticing he should be about 11 years old, the parents came in and I guess they treat him like Lino from the Thundercats. In the original Thundercats pilot, Lionel is actually in a cryotube, along with the rest of the Thundercats. And interesting enough, his cryotube was broken. Should be known, Lionel's actually the youngest out of the Thundercats. And because his cryotube was broken, he aged. Everybody else kind of stayed the same as they went to sleep. It did leave some funny moments when the doctor decided to look over at Rick. It's like, look, he's got jaundice, he's got gray skin. He should be dead within a year. I don't know, something about that really made me laugh. Considering, let's face it, Rick survived quite a bit up to this point. I mean, he went through Project Phoenix how many different times, right? Morty ended up in the working class situation, and apparently they obviously treat their working class a little more seriously. In fact, they have compliance chips in the back of their head, and shocks them every time they disagree. And yeah, this does play quite a bit of a part in this episode. The compliance chips, in a way, these guys are kind of treated like slaves because you really can't question it. As I was talking about the class system, remember the first major episode, the Atlantis incident, involving the Citadel Ricks and how they have a class system. Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation here. Obviously, Morty just trying to get away, not being noticed he doesn't have a chip, ends up scooting crap out of a pipe. Even questioning, like, wait a minute, you've only been up for like 4 hours. How do you have this much crap here? And of course, Rick trying his best to get back at the space call, gets involved with his parents, and amazingly enough, actually gets very close to them for some reason. Even to the point they give him a, I guess what do you call this plastic version of a bar mitzvah? I don't know it either, but it's kind of fun. Meanwhile, like the working class people start noticing that Morty's giving up a lot more resistance than he should. I mean, remember the opening clip where Rick's in a sailor suit and Morty's just beating him up? That happens in this episode. See, Rick, a lot of the episode is dressed in a sailor suit. And yeah, I had some Sailor Moon jokes here. Or Donald Duck as well. And yeah, I mean, obviously the working class dragged Morty away. Morty calling him an a-hole. And they knows right off the bat he doesn't have a chip. And they're immediately like, wait a minute. He proves we don't need one of these. And like the girl looking around decides, rips it out and immediately falls dead. And they assume that Morty caused the execution. Amazing enough, though, she's alive. And calls him by his name. I forgot what it was. On the ship, saying, you're an idiot and a genius. And eventually they genius. And eventually they like the first time we were introduced to evil Morty as the true Morty, when our Morty became the true Morty in a revolt against evil Rick, I guess. Once again, it gets exalted into the rebellion camp, as the lower classes now revolt against the upper class. Of course, it is funny that they exiled one of the people because he kind of wanted to negotiate and do everything for a peaceful way. When he got exiled, he got kicked off the ship without a thing to keep the air inside his suit so he can breathe. And of course, that Rick's bar, well, I'm just going to call it Space Bar Mitzvah at this point. I don't know what it is. Don't really care. Ends up basically saying, people, time to party. Drink some from chalices. The usual Rick spiel. And of course, I think what happened was that Morty actually suggested when they took out like a piano leg, put some like nails in it. For some reason, swung it at Rick. And yeah, the lower class revolted against him. At this point, Morty, kind of angry, just simply says, I want to get off this shit. And drags Rick away. Of course, Rick still wants to steal it. And actually grabs the parents and brings them along and then starts explaining, like, yeah, you're the greatest parents I ever met. I mean, you're very trusting for some reason. I did find some pretty humor in this part. And eventually, of course, after they open the chamber, Morty knocks the parents out, and they go into the vault, noticing they've been robbed. And of course, when they got in, the other people on the ship came up to him and immediately assumed that Rick and Morty basically robbed them. Eventually, the truth comes out that Rick and Morty are actually aliens to them, and the two people they replaced actually stole from them. Yeah, they were actually beaten out by their counterparts. And apparently they're on a casino planet because, we didn't do this in The End of the Jedi, the second Disney sequel of Casino Planet. Which, you could virtually erase and nothing would have been changed in that movie. But of course, this was a lot more funnier, so. Eventually, they track him down to the casino planet. My favorite part is when Morty says, wait a minute, this fortune has caused you problems. Why not actually make a new planet, new life? And as he went to, and almost like halfway through, he's looking out the window and notices every spaceship that was on their ship basically took off of the casino planet. And of course, the kid and Morty's Morty's counterpart was on betting on dice, and of course they had a big winning. In our part, they said, "And the winner, the 11-year-old kid." Like no one would notice. And of course, interesting enough, another funny moment is when the reporter on the scene goes like, he goes immediately says like, "I'm reporting on a immediate race, and I'm done with this job." Immediately, the Rick and Morty's counterparts immediately get on their version of the ship to escape from the casino planet, and we end up having the Mad, 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 Mad World parody we weren't expecting to see for over 60 years. And it's pretty funny because, apparently they go through a space barn and Rick, for some reason, opens the windows. All the feathers go into Morty's face. Eventually, Rick and Morty catches up, and Morty actually ejects all the gold and wealth off the ship, going into space. And in true Rick and Morty fashion, of course, the people don't learn anything. They go out to the floating assets in space. Eventually, Rick and Morty get back to the original spaceship. They put compliance chips on all the people this time. And it's kind of funny. Everybody's all angry at each other as they go to sleep. And Rick and Morty end up going off to a medical ship to steal all the medicines. Meanwhile, I do find this pretty funny. The guy with the monkey, Lizzie, he ends up betting his entire wealth on Lizzie, having Lizzie on a card game, and she ends up actually winning. And the post credits. Overall, this is a classic Rick and Morty adventure. It's not great, but still very good, very respectable. It's just it's basically, I say, kind of a middle of the road type episode. We kind of need one, especially after the last episode, which was really kind of a downer, disappointing. And this one was kind of fun to watch and listen to, especially Brian Elder's Penny song showing up during the chase scene. As you know, Rick and Morty will be on very momentarily, so I'm going to leave off right now. I hope next week I can get another episode review, just before the 4th, hopefully. Maybe beyond the 4th of July. Anyway, until next week, I'll see you then. Bye.